The good news is the Red Sox are getting their bad gameplay out of the way early in 2023. The bad news, they just got swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates at home. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and that series was neither fun nor entertaining. It was one of the most dreary series I've watched at Fenway Park in a very long time. They end up getting swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates in 3 games, bringing their season total to 2-4 on the year, and the Red Sox were swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's a pretty impressive feat to accomplish, and most of it was due to bad gameplay on the Boston Red Sox, but there was also some good to bring out of this series as well. So that's what we're going to do today. We are going to break down the bad in this series. We're going to break down the good in this series, and we're going to talk about why this series was so scary. What's my biggest fear about this Red Sox team going forward throughout 2023 and how it relates to this specific series. We're also going to talk about how the Red Sox move forward from this series and why this season is not over despite having lost a series to the Pittsburgh Pirates in the 6th game of the 2023 season. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with the good and bad on the offense, specifically the good, and all of this good that happened with this Red Sox offense in this Pittsburgh Pirates series basically all came in the first game of the series, really the first inning of this series, because in the first inning alone, we got Rafael Devers' first home run of the season. It was an absolute picture-perfect Rafael Devers home run, just a moonshot to dead center field, the step back and everything, and that really does feel like the ceremonial start to the summer when Rafael Devers gets his first home run of the season. Hopefully plenty more from him. He did have a really scary moment in the 3rd game of this series as well, where he was grabbing at his arm after collision with O'Neal Cruz at 3rd base, but from everything I've heard, it seems like he is going to be okay, and it is just a bruise. Thank God, that would have been a disaster. We also got Masataka Yoshida's first home run in the major leagues in the same first inning that Rafael Devers hit his home run. It was 103-ish miles an hour to the opposite field. This dude has some power. The problem with his home run is that he was not able to keep his home run because the family that ended up with the ball, not the family that caught the ball, the family that ended up with the ball decided to keep it and not give it back. The dad saw dollar signs, and that is just wildly unfortunate for Masataka Yoshida, but either way, he had his first major league home run in the first inning of this game as well. And in the first inning of this game too, Tristan Casas had his first home run of the season. He was able to wrap one around the pesky pole, and Tristan Casas is off to a really slow start this season, but it's just a 6-game sample size. Give him some time. He is a rookie, right? He's a rookie with high expectations, but he is a rookie nonetheless. Either way, he got his first home run out of the way with early here in 2023 as well. And outside of that, there were some doubles, some singles and whatnot, but basically since that happened in the first inning of the Pirates game, the Red Sox went completely silent on offense, because in the last 26 innings of this series, the Red Sox managed to score 3 runs against the Pittsburgh Pirates, one of them coming from a Masataka Yoshida RBI groundout, one of them coming from a Christian Arroyo single, and outside of that, there really was not much other offense to talk about, and that's the bad in this series, right, is that the Red Sox offense just rolled over and died after the first game of this series, and we'll get to why that's important later, but let's also talk about the pitching as well. Unlike the Red Sox offense in this series, the Red Sox pitching staff actually stepped up a little bit against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Really, the only poor outing by a starting pitcher in this series came in the first game, and it was Cutter Crawford, who ended up going just 4 innings. He allowed 7 runs. He did actually strike out 6 and walk 2, though. So if there are any positives to take out of Cutter Crawford's outing, it's that his control was okay. His command was certainly not good, though. He was leaving pitches all over the middle of the zone, and Brian Reynolds, specifically on the Pittsburgh Pirates, was absolutely beating him down. Brian Reynolds was beating the entire Red Sox team almost single-handedly, but against Cutter Crawford, he was torching him. Either way, Cutter Crawford did not look good in his first start of the year, but that's kind of been the trend for Red Sox starters. One person who did look good in their first start of the year was Nick Pivetta. He ended up giving up 3 runs. Only one of them was earned, though. He finished with a final stat line of 5 innings pitched. He only allowed 1 earned, he struck out 6, and he walked 3. All in all, a really solid outing from Nick Pivetta. If Nick Pivetta can go out there and consistently be a guy who, for the most part, can go 5-6 innings, allow 3-4 runs, he could be a perfect 5th spot starter on this Red Sox team, right? Right now, it's sort of a debate. Would you rather have Paxton or Pivetta in this rotation? If Pivetta can give us that on a consistent basis, right now I'm taking Nick Pivetta. Let me know your thoughts on that down below. Corey Kluber also started in this series, and he looked much better than he did on opening day. This is the start Corey Kluber needed. This was the start that we needed. He ended up striking out 2 in 5 innings, but he only allowed 3 hits and 1 earned run. More importantly, though, Corey Kluber only walked 1 batter, right? Opening day, he really struggled with walks. He really did a better job this outing of getting the ball over the plate and letting your defense do the work. It was absolutely textbook Corey Kluber start, and it's something that we needed to see, and it's something that he needs to continue to do. Corey Kluber needs to be a better pitcher than he was on opening day, and we're starting to see that he is. It's almost like, hey, one start doesn't dictate how a pitcher is going to pitch the entire year. Crazy to think that, right? The bullpen was pretty good as well. There were a couple runs given up by John Schreiber, by Caleb Ort in this series, but outside of that, the bullpen looked pretty good. Josh Winkowski, I gotta shout this guy out because he has been absolutely carrying this Red Sox bullpen so far this season. He actually has the most innings thrown for any Red Sox player this entire year so far, which is kind of crazy to say. He has 7 total innings pitched, and he ended up going 3 innings in 1 game in this series, allowing just 1 run and 1 walk. Josh Winkowski has looked really impressive in the bullpen, and honestly, he's a guy right now that you simply can't take out of the bullpen. He's earning himself a full-time role on this Red Sox team in the bullpen, and that's really cool to see. Outside of that, again, the bullpen looked pretty good, which is fantastic. After a pretty rocky series against the Baltimore Orioles, they were able to shut it down. Unfortunately, the Red Sox weren't able to give them any offense to supplement, and that's where my biggest fear comes in. So let's talk about what my biggest fear is for this 2023 Red Sox team and why it became so scary in this Pirates series. My biggest problem with the 2022 Red Sox, and we're kicking it back a year here because it is relevant, is that this Red Sox team in 2022 had 0 cohesion, right? The Red Sox offense would go off for a week, but its pitching staff or its defense fell apart and they ended up not doing anything, right? And then it would be vice versa. The pitching staff would look really good, but the Red Sox couldn't put any runs on the board, or pitching and offense were doing well, but their defense was miserable and they were still giving up runs and losing games. There was really only one stretch in 2022 where all of it came together and they were the best team in Major League Baseball during that stretch. My biggest fear going into 2023 was that this was going to happen again. It didn't look like this was going to be a problem, right? The Red Sox put together a really cohesive lineup, a cohesive clubhouse, which is important to this problem. They put together a better bullpen. The rotation was the only big question mark in my mind. And it's way too early to declare anything about this Red Sox team, so it's not something I am terrified of yet. This is something that is just scaring the back of my head, right? It's just one little piece right back here that's saying, hey, Corbin, what if this team is not cohesive in 2023? What would that look like, right? Because in the first 2 series of the year, you have your first series where the Red Sox pitching staff was terrible, but the Red Sox offense was good enough to help you win that series. Then you get to the second series of this season, and all of a sudden the pitching staff is good, but the Red Sox offense falls silent, right? That is something that cannot happen every other week throughout the 2023 season, or you're never going to find that balance, because for the most part, that's baseball, right? There are going to be series where it's going to be an absolute slugfest. There are going to be series where it's an absolute pitcher's duel, but winning teams find a balance in both where they are able to do both efficiently and get wins in either scenario. You can't pick one or the other. You can't have one series where it's just a slugfest and the other series where it's a pitching duel and you're not really that good at either. You need to find that balance, and that's baseball, right? But at the same time too, if the Boston Red Sox cannot find that balance, they are going to look a lot like they did in 2022 when it comes to cohesion. Again, Is it something that I think is going to happen? No, it is way too early to say this Red Sox team is not cohesive. This Red Sox team is not going to be able to put it together because it's just 6 games into the season, right? You have 156 games left to play. Right now, what the Red Sox need to do is take all of the good that they can out of this series. The fact that Masataka Yoshida got his first home run, Devers looked good at the plate and is healthy and got away with one on the field, right? The pitching staff is starting to pull it together and the bullpen looks good. Take all of that, go to Detroit and absolutely stomp on them before you head to the red hot Tampa Bay Rays at home at Tropicana Field and then go from there. Because again, we can't just sit here and declare the season over because they got swept one time in the early days of April. It's just not how this game works. But we can say we're concerned. I can't say I'm not concerned, right? With the way that they lost this series, with what I just mentioned with cohesion, I'm definitely concerned with this Red Sox team. And it's definitely something to keep an eye on. All in all, this was a miserable, dreary, tough to watch series that hopefully is the last time we see the Red Sox play this sloppy of baseball in 2023. But that's just my opinion, so let me know in the comment section down below. What did you think of this Pittsburgh Pirates series? The good, the bad, the ugly, and what do you think the Red Sox need to do going forward to mend what happened in this series? Let me know all your thoughts on the Red Sox getting swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps it out a ton, would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.